Hi there everybody. Let's start or do this video on indices can be a bit negative. That's actually a bit of a joke because today's video is on negative indices. And if we see here, a number raised to a negative power gives a fraction. And by that I mean a to the negative n is just way 1 on a to the n. Now let's go through the proof of that. Now the proof of that is that if I have this one here, and we've done dividing indices, x to the power of 4 divided by x to the power of 5 is the same as x to the 4 minus 5. And so 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Now that's one way of doing it, and that's totally right. But if we do it a different way, what about, let's turn it into a fraction. We say x to the power of 4 divided by x to the power of 5. We can cancel out 4x's here, cancel out 4x's, and we're left with 1 over x to the power of 1. That means that these two here are equivalent. So let's have a look at these two examples, one easy, one a little bit more difficult. When we see here 8 to the minus 7, we see that 8 is the base, and therefore this is just another way of saying 1 over 8 to the power of 7. Now let's just work that out on our calculator. 8 to the power of 7 is, so that's just 1 over 2,097,152. Whereas this one here is just a little bit cheekier. 8u to the minus 3v squared. Now the trick with this one is which bit is to the negative, which bit is being to the negative power, being put to the negative power, and it's not 8, it's not v squared, it's only u to the minus 3. So another way of writing this would just be 8 v squared u cubed, because it's only, that only belongs to what's directly in front of it, and that is 8 to a positive 1, and that's v squared, so they're positive powers, so they stay up the top, whereas the u cubed, should I say the u to the minus 3 goes down to the bottom. Now let's take this to the next level, because there's two rules here, and I want to look at both of them because they're both the same rule, they're just written slightly differently. So let me just line it up. The rule is, and they're kind of the same rule, anything to the minus 1 is 1 on that number. We turn it into a positive. Whereas if we've got a fraction to a negative index, if we want to make it positive, all we have to do is flip it. And the bit that's missing here is b on a, that's just b on a to the power of 1. And it's the same thing here. If we have this fraction to the minus n, now it doesn't matter what n is, n can be any number. We flip it if we want to make it positive, and it ends up being b on a to the power of n. And because we know our power of a power rules, that just becomes b to the power n over a to the power of n. And so here's our proof here. A to the power of minus n is the same as saying 1 over a to the n over b to the n. And then it doesn't matter what numbers you use. For example, if I've got 1 over 1/2, that's just the same way as saying 2 over 1. This one moves up into the numerator roll, and it's just the same as saying 2. And in this case, it's the same. If I've got 1 over a to the n over b to the n, that's the same as saying b to the power of n over a to the power of n. Now that's a bit to take in, but all you need to do is just remember that if it's a fraction to the negative power, you just flip it and turn it into a positive. And so in this case here, how do we turn this into a positive index? Beg your pardon, that shouldn't be there, but I can't find my whiteout. So that's just the same as saying, we get the fraction, we flip it, 7 over 2, in brackets, to the power of 1. And so now That's the same as saying 7 to the power of 1 over 2 to the power of 1, which is just the same as saying 7 over 2. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. But let's make it a little bit harder. Now, this is a little bit harder. So we go h squared over m cubed to the minus 5. Well, let's make it a positive index first. It ends up being m cubed over h squared because we flip the fraction and then we make it positive. And now that we're dealing with this brackets and positive power, it becomes the power of a power rule. So that's the same as saying m to the 3 times 5 over h to the 2 times 5, which is m to the 15 over h to the 10. Easy peasy.